As I've said to many today, it's clear that we're on the side of angels, because the angels keep taking care of us in terms of providing us beautiful environment like this to enjoy ourselves. So thank you very much. You know, today is really about spending time with friends and family, so I'm not going to take a lot of time with speeches and discussions and talking and that, but there is some serious stuff we need to talk about today. There's some celebrating that we need to do, and there's some planning for the future. So we are going to take a little bit of time, but it's really about celebrating this milestone that we're at. 6 years into this battle against inappropriate, intrusive development into our communities. We've had a major changing of momentum, if you will, a major game changer in that battle, and we need to acknowledge it today and really just celebrate what we've made happen together as a community. When MVP Ted McMeekin called us, invited us to his office on April 13th, we knew something was up. You could tell by the tenor of his voice that it was something big, and it was something very positive. But little did we really realize what the significance of the announcement was going to be. But on that Tuesday morning, MPP Ted McMeekin, our government representative serving Ancaster, Dundas, Flamborough, and Westdale, proudly informed us that the provincial government had taken a position on the matter of the proposed Flamborough quarry. Through a ministerial zoning order issued by the Honourable Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Jim Bradley, and backed by the members of the provincial cabinet, the province was going to freeze the zoning as agriculture and conservation management, thereby preventing those lands from being used for any industrial purposes. What a wonderful piece of news for our communities, and something we, while we hoped for, we never expected would occur at this stage in our battle. In making the announcement, the provincial government referenced the many substantive issues that we have been raising as a community about the proposed quarry all along. And in particular, they highlighted the threat to drinking water that supply our homes and families and businesses in this area. They also pointed out that they had received requests from all the surrounding municipalities, all the stakeholders of the various agencies that were engaged in the process, and that those objections against the proposed quarry were unanimous. They were there today, they were there before, and they'll be there tomorrow. It's our opinion that this combination of sort of a substantive, science-based opposition being turned into a real united voice is what's brought us to this successful milestone that we're at today. And it is together, continuing to do the same things we've done all along, that we're going to see this battle through to the bitter end. The united nature of our opposition has been amazing. It starts, for example, with the 1,200 individual community residents that have not only objected to the process once through the ARA process, but thanks to being asked to do it again earlier this year, we had to send in our objections a second time, this time with the pomp and ceremony of registered letters and all that comes with that. But we did it. We got 1,200 objections in there. It continues through the local school boards and school councils. It continues with the local federations of agricultures and their committees. It includes the conservation authorities and the area medical officers of health that raise serious concerns about potential risk to public health from some of the proposed activities on the site. It continues to the various municipal governments who have each passed resolutions making clear their opposition to the proposal. And it even extends to within the ministries of the provincial government itself, with both the Ministry of the Environment and the Ministry of Natural Resources objecting to the quarry. It has been a united opposition. But it is together that we built this case, and then we lobbied others, and we got them to add their voice of opposition. But many of those organizations have joined us here today, and I'd like to sort of call upon them to introduce them and let us thank them for the work that we've done together and put this together. It's just by way of logistics, I'm going to introduce all these people, and then a few of them I'm going to invite to come up to the microphone and just say a word or two. But at this point in time, if we could just sort of acknowledge them and give them a warm round of applause, that would be appreciated. Let me start with the man in blue, relaxing over there under the tree. MPP Ted McMeekin, in my opinion, I would characterize your style as quiet and unassuming. But I can tell you, after the years that I've worked with you, don't let that create an underestimation of what this man can get done when he sets his mind to it, and he works steadfastly to make sure that change happens. So, well done, Ted, and thank you for being here. There are a couple other MPPs that I want to acknowledge today as well, though. We were celebrating a government announcement, but we need to acknowledge that, for instance, the MPP for Hamilton Centre, Andy Horvath, who's now the leader of the NDP, she rose herself in the provincial legislature and asked some very tough questions of this government about this proposal. She is opposed to it, and she called upon the provincial government to intervene. I also want to call out the fact that MPP Ted Chudley, who was unable to be with us here today, a member of the Conservative caucus, also has met with us and met with concerned citizens in this area and has expressed his opposition to this development. So really, the facts in this case are so clear that they cross what at times could be cross-party partisan lines, but everyone is lined up opposed to this. At the municipal level, we have Halton Regional Chair Gary Carr with us today. Gary has been very supportive of our concerns for many, many years, and he really highlighted in his comments about this how residents and governments working together is really the best way to make change happen and to get things done. So we agree with him on that, and we thank him for his participation in that. Mayor Fred, wave to the crowd. I first got introduced to Mayor Fred during actually the campaign because there was a transition in mayors that we had in this fine city, and Fred has some history up in this area, and he knows what we're fighting to protect, and he's steadfast with us, and we greatly appreciate his support. So thank you, Fred, for being able to join us today, and we'll get you to the microphone here in just a moment to say something. Standing beside Fred, we have Councillor Robert Pasuda. Again, a steadfast supporter as a local resident and a farmer in this area. He understood the threats that this proposed development could have to our community and our way of life. And long before he was engaged in public office, he was engaged on this matter and doing what he could to help us and coach us along and introduce us to the people we needed to know. So we appreciate that, Robert. We'll get you up here in a moment as well. Not with us today, but sending her congratulations, is the singular Margaret McCarthy. Many of you would have seen Margaret's emotional comments of overriding pride and joy about this event that were reported in the media. So I'm not going to try and reproduce what only Margaret can say and do and express. But I think it goes without saying that while Margaret enjoys some time off this week with her family and that she still stands with each of us, and she is incredibly proud of what this community has accomplished. So we continue to acknowledge her singular efforts on this whole matter. From Halton, where are my ward councillors from Halton? Oh, is Jan here yet? Have you seen Jan yet? We have Cindy Lunine, and I think Jan Mowbray is going to try and join us too. But Cindy, back over by the microphone, waving in that. Again, passionate about the support. Whenever we needed to get in front of the Halton government layers, they were always there, facilitating, opening the door, and making sure that we were well received. We have Graham Millman, President, and Karen Goulet, the Secretary of the Balaclava School Council. Where are they? Can I get you to wave your hands? They're here representing the parents, students, staff, and community of the Balaclava Public School. Kathy McMaster, if I get you to wave your hand, from the Hamilton Wentworth Federation of Agriculture. I was first introduced to Kathy when we attended some of their local meetings, and I could tell you right away that she thought this thing through, and she quickly saw that there was a connection between this proposed industrial operation and threats to the local agricultural community. And she's been with us ever since. She made that link in her own mind, and we really appreciate her and her organization's support. Same with the Halton Region Federation of Agriculture on the other side. Up in the front row here, dressed to the nines as always, Iggy Caniff. If I just get you to gesture to the crowd. People may not realize the support of the Caniff organization. I'm going to let Iggy tell his story, but he's fought one of these intrusions into his business before, and in addition to all the great stuff that he does around this venue and helping us host our events here and having us here today, Iggy is quite clear. He says one businessman should not be able to harm another businessman's hard efforts. Iggy has invested a lot in this community over decades to develop this business, and he knows that large trucks rumbling down the street is not going to make this golf course any more appealing. And he says there's no right. He was here, he worked hard, they don't have the right to come in and change that. So I love it when one business tells to the other business, wait a minute, what you're doing is unreasonable. So we'll get him up here as well. Not able to join us today is a very significant partners of ours, Environmental Defense. Rick Smith, Dr. Rick Smith, the Executive Director of Environmental Defense, is actually on his way to Australia to promote his best-selling book called Slow Death by Rubber Duck, in which he talks about some of the toxins that we have in our environment. And he's given me a little blurb here to read on his behalf, and I'll just read portions of it to you. He's very sorry that he can't be with us today, but he's literally on a plane overseas as we speak. But he wants to compliment our communities for being so substantive and so professional in all that we've done. He says his organization has the opportunity to work with a number of groups, but we have really distinguished ourselves as to the way we've conducted ourselves, the issues that we have put forward. He, as a huge supporter and one of the founders of the Greenbelt Federation, he sees this as an attack on the Greenbelt and what we're trying to accomplish with the Greenbelt. And he's very, very pleased to be standing by our side and helping us in this battle as we move forward. So, as he says, the fight's not over yet, but he encourages us to keep going, keep building the war chest, keep doing what we need to do to see this thing through to the final end. So we appreciate EDC's support, and I'd like you to acknowledge that for them. Okay, now I have to tell you there have been some of those people on this list that I didn't know were going to be here today that showed up. There may be other people in the audience who I need to recognize and I don't know. We've had the scouts out, we've had our eyes peeled, but if I haven't introduced you and you feel I should, catch my eye or send me a dagger or something like that. If I have missed you and I find out you're here, I'll be back at the mic and introduce again. But needless to say, there's hundreds of people that we could be introducing that have made significant support to this, and it is working together that's made us to come to this juncture. And we thank all of them for that. So, without further ado, I'd like to invite some of these VIP guests of honors to come up and say a word or two. Mr. McMeekin, I'd like to start with you. You want to come on up here and just give us your thoughts and reflections.
Partnership's about achieving together the things that you can't achieve apart. And I think Graham's just done a wonderful job of explaining why this particular effort, force to be reckoned with, for sure, has been so darn successful, because it's more than about standing on a soapbox and ranting. It's about being constructive and instructive and working as best you can to present your case. Now, that always takes more time, it takes more energy, it takes more money. But in the end, you know what? It's the only thing that's got integrity. Anyone can stand on a soapbox and rant, right? You see it all the time, and it doesn't work. But this has worked, and it's come to the point where through the partnership, working together to achieve together what we wouldn't have been able to achieve apart, the province has done something extraordinary. For the first time in Ontario political history, a provincial government issued a ministerial zoning order to stop a commercial developments. Never ever happened before. Never. Hi, Gary. And you know what? It wouldn't have happened if it weren't for all the partners working together. I mean, when you've got the City of Hamilton, local councillor, the mayor, unanimously, I believe, Mr. Mayor, your worshipfulness, right? When you've got my good friend Gary Carr at the Halton Region working with his folk, when you've got both medical officers of health, when you've got both conservation authorities all saying the same thing, people tend to take that pretty seriously, right? But it was Graham and the Force Group that were able to bring all those forces together. So my hat's off to Graham again and the entire Force Group. Now I want to say something that some of you might not want to hear. This fight isn't over yet. Okay, the company isn't going away, I suspect. I know them pretty well. I met with them a couple of times. I don't think they're going anywhere. Except maybe to the OMB, right? You know what that is, the Ontario Municipal Board? So we're going to have to fight the fight there. Now, the way the process works, I should maybe just lay this out for everybody. The company has the right anytime a minister issues a ministerial zoning order to refer to the OMB, and the minister has no choice but to refer in law. That has to happen. Once that happens, the provincial government, once the date of an OMB hearing has been set, has 30 days before that hearing takes place to declare provincial interest. Now, I'm pretty confident that having issued a ministerial zoning order, the province would not be at all reluctant to issue a declaration of provincial interest. But that having been said, the company still has its rights to go before the OMB, and we're still going to have to fight that fight. So we want to be vigilant. We don't want to be lulled into any kind of sense of absolute victory when the company is prepared, I'm sure, to do whatever it can, pull whatever strings it can, right? I want you to know that over the last 4 years, there has not been a single week that's gone by that I have not had what I would call a significant conversation with somebody inside government about our issue here and about the importance of setting the precedent that's been set here. And I've been able to do that because, frankly, I've been buoyed by the support in the community and the phenomenal consensus of opinion amongst all the significant stakeholders that this is the way to go. So I just want to say that. I want to say something else too about community, because a lot of people over the last little while have said to me and others directly, we're not going to be able to stop this thing. It's bigger than us. Well, you know what? There's never a wrong time to do the right thing, is there? And, this is just a wonderful example of how community can come together and can make a difference. And so I want to take my hat off, not just to Force, but to every single one of you who are here today, and many who are not, who have stood up and been counted, who have written the letters, signed the petitions, donated money, stopped doing a lot of the things that they wanted to do with their volunteer time and other things, right? A lot of nodding heads. I remember a similar battle, Mr. Mayor, you may remember this too, the gas group out in Greensville. You remember when they wanted to take the third largest quarry in the world and turn it into a big dump? The Greensville Association Against Serious Pollution fought it had to be a 3 or a 4 year battle, which they wouldn't have won, by the way, if it weren't for the region at the time. We forget that when we talk about government structure, but it was really the city and the region who came to our aid then. And Flamborough alone would have had a really tough time fighting that. But that happened. The other thing I want to say is that when I look around the world today, I look at what's happening down in the Gulf of Mexico with BP. And it reminds me of what happened years ago with the Exxon Valdez. You remember when the captain who liked to drink too much ran the boat aground and virtually wiped out the fishery all along the coast? There's a very good chance we're going to destroy the fishery in the Gulf of Mexico as well. And it's still spewing out, no shut-off valve, no plan B, right? Just a bloody shame what's going on down there. And thanks. And you know what? This is the kind of tragedy that happens when good people who know better say nothing. When good people say, "Hey, we can't fight the big corporation who wants to do this to our community." And I give thanks. When I count my blessings, I count Force and the people who have stood strong against this. I count you all twice, because you're the ones who have done it. This is your victory, and at least to this point, we need to stand strong. We don't want to look weak. We're not weak. We're strong. We're going to make sure this darn thing doesn't come here. And in the process, we're going to build a stronger, healthier, more caring community, one for our kids and our grandkids. This isn't about, I'm at the stage in my life and maybe my political career, what's left of it, perhaps. I don't care about what happens next week or 3 months from now. I'm worried about what's going to happen 50 years from now. I'm worried whether my kids and my grandkids are going to have a world that they can go outside and play, and they can breathe air that's safe to breathe, and they can drink water that's safe to drink, and that the species that are out there that are endangered are protected. You know, a couple weeks ago was Earth Week. I think Earth Day was on Thursday, and I spent 2 days during Earth Week, Graham, visiting schools, handing out over 3,000 white pine saplings. And I got to tell you, I can't remember when I had so much fun. Kids seem to get it. They seem to intuit what's true. Maybe that's because they're young, growing things themselves. They just get it, right? They understand it. And it's for the kids and our grandkids that we're here today, and it's for our kids and our grandkids that we're going to continue to stand in solidarity and to partner until that day when we can finally meet back here again and say with absolute certainty, this intrusion, unwanted intrusion by this big multinational in our community has been stopped in its tracks. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Ted. Gary Carr, Regional Chair Carr, I'd love to invite you up here to give us your perspective on where we're at in our journey.
Really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And like Ted, I want to echo his congratulations to you and everybody in Forest. You know, you have been extremely passionate, but you also have been very, very professional. And I think, as Ted mentioned, that's why so many people became involved, because they knew exactly right along the process what was happening. And in fact, Graham knows this, there's other organizations that are looking at other operations, environmental projects that they don't want in their communities, and they're actually looking to the people here and to Forrest and to Graham about how you get it done. So this victory was obviously for this community very important, but it showed people right across the rest of this great province of ours that indeed, if you are passionate, if you are professional, and if you lay it out properly, you can win the battle. And I know Graham's had some calls from some people wanting to know how it got done. So as always, the people out here have actually been the leaders. And when that happened in the beginning, in the first meetings that happened in the kitchens and the around the kitchen table and the homes, and it started as very small, but it grew. And I think one of the reasons it grew is if you look out here, and I'm so pleased to see the number of young people, a lot of you, whether you're grandparents, aunts and uncles, mums and dads, you care about the future of the young people here. And so your commitment and your passion, you've been able to put together this coalition. And Ted touched on it briefly. Well, Graham, I think you all know, and Ted and I served, I was MPP for a number of years, and certainly Fred and all the politicians, Cindy and so on. It is very difficult to get governments at all levels, of all political stripes, to agree on anything. In fact, if you got them out here today and said, is it raining or is it the sunshine, there would probably be half of them say it was raining and half of them wouldn't be able to agree. But on this issue, we've been able to get everybody together, and it really is indeed an honor working with them. So Graham, to you and all the Forest people, we want to thank you. The fight isn't up. It is important that we continue. At the region, we have passed the resolutions. Our staff has been very supportive. Our medical officer of health. We have major concerns about the environment and the water quality as a result of an operation like this. We are going to continue to do all that we can in pushing the provincial government. I also want to thank Ted for the great work as Graham did as well. I served with Ted for a number of years, and I know how hard he works, how dedicated. He always has a smile on. I know in all my political life, he is somebody that I can really call a friend. But he also gets results. And I know he goes into the cabinet ministers and into the premier, and when he speaks to them, he does it with the facts. He does it professionally, he does it passionately, and I can tell you one of the big reasons we had this first victory is because of that fine gentleman. So Ted, thank you for all the great work that you do. On top of everything else, he's a heck of a nice guy to work with. The same with Mayor Fred. We served on Metrolinx together and sat many a day in meetings. And I want to say that we really appreciate the leadership that's come out of his office for all of you here. He is known throughout the province as one of the great leaders. And again, when the province looks at it and sees somebody with the quality of Mayor Fred talking about this issue, it really, really does help our cause. And locally, so Fred, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure working with you as well. We are neighbors, but we are great neighbors, and so congratulations to you. To our local councillors, and Margaret who isn't here, and Robert and Cindy, and I know Jan, it has been very, very, well, there goes your notes, Graham. You won't know who's up next. It is indeed an honor and a privilege. We had major concerns about the transportation routes of what was going to happen with the number of trucks. For those of you who have been involved in quarries will know one of the big issues is the fact that the trucks that are going up and down the highways, I sit on our police services board. Our safety checks that we do on these trucks continually find problems with them. They don't stay on the proper roads. They're going where they aren't. And so we knew very clearly there was going to be some problems here. And so our resolution was very, very strong. And I want to thank everybody on Milton Council as well. And finally, Graham, we will keep up the good work over the next little while. We can count on us for the things that we can do and assist together, because we are going to win this fight. It's too important, and we are going to win this. My final thanks is to Iggy for the great job that he does. He's been, as many of you know, a fine member of our community, doing so much for so many charities. And he knows, like we do, that all you have to do is sit out here and look at this beautiful. We have some of the most beautiful environment anywhere in Canada, anywhere in the world, with a great escarpment all the way down to the lakes in the south. And here's a gentleman that puts back and gives back to the community. So on behalf of the elected officials, we want to thank you for the great leadership you have. So good luck, Graham. Have a wonderful day. And remember, we continue to fight and fight and fight. And together, we're going to win this thing. So good luck, Graham. Thanks for everything.
Thank you very much. All right, Mayor Fred, come on up.
And they put chairs over there for us, thinking we're probably going to go on and on. So maybe we should stop going on and on. I'm very happy to be here with these gentlemen, with all of you, to say that we're almost there. We've had quite a journey. When I first met Graham, I did tell him of my some say misspent youth at Lambert, or now Lawson, and I'm not sure what it is now, Park. We spent all of our summers there. It was a spectacular place to be, and this is a beautiful countryside here in Carlisle, Thurlton, that we need to make sure stays exactly the way it is. I'm reminded by the Steepley fight that we had many years ago. They were trying to turn that into a municipal landfill site, which I think is a disaster, and invariably quarries are eyeballed to become that kind of a use at the end of their life. And I think that's landfills are probably one of the worst things that we can possibly do in the future, and that's why we're looking so hard and actively encouraging people to get into recycling and reducing the amount of garbage so we don't have to have landfills in the future. Again, to congratulate everyone that's been participating here. Ted McMeekin has done a great job, Gary and all the local councils that came on board, and we're happy to support. I must say that Margaret isn't here. She was, in my eyes, a lion on this issue. There wasn't a day that went by that we didn't either get an email or a personal call or some sort of communication about what was happening at on the quarry fight, and her continuously sharing information about the progress of FORCE and all the work that's being done to ensure that we continue to remain supportive. And lastly, Graham and the FORCE team and all of you, the hallmark of the success you've had and the way you've organized is that it's been evidence-based research that actually has given you enormous credibility. And it's the resources and dollars that you put together to make that happen. And as Ted pointed out, it's easy to get on a soapbox and rant and rave about what you don't want, but why don't you want it? And what is it that's going to happen? The water table issues, the traffic issues, the very beauty of the countryside here are all factors in terms of how you want to position your opposition in terms of this quarry. So all of that evidence-based research has held you in good stead all the way through this process and continuing on to the OMB. And that's very unfortunate, but we do have to congratulate the Premier of Ontario for taking a firm stand on this issue. I'm a believer that he's on the right path. Certainly in Hamilton, with the Metrolinx initiatives that Gary and I worked on, and the public transportation drive, the Pan Am sports opportunities, all the things that are key future investments in the province of Ontario is going to be good for jobs. It's going to be good for our environment. It's going to be good for our health and well-being, and I think the Premier is on the right path. So to all of you and all of you here that have participated, continue to stay the course. We'll stand shoulder to shoulder with you and make sure that this quarry landfill site, or this quarry doesn't happen here. And I wish you great success into the future, and I'm sure, even though Margaret might not be in elected office, we'll still be hearing from Margaret about all the issues that are coming forward on an ongoing basis. I'll still be getting emails. I know I will. Thank you all very much, and congratulations.
Councillor Pasuta, come join us. Now, I've told Councillor Pasuta 3 minutes. It's hot, you're in the sun. 3 minutes.
Thanks, Graham. In 3 minutes. So I think you've heard it all from everybody else. They all spoke very well, very truthful and to the point. And it's all about community. That's what it's about. In fact, I only live up 3 concessions from here. One of my farms is about a half a concession from where the quarry would have been, so it affected me in my farming operations, traffic on the roads, etc., etc. I remember the first time that Graham and Dan Kern-Blaney came to our house, and they were talking about the quarry. At that point in time, I was president of the Federation of Agriculture for Hamilton Wentworth. And when they got talking about the quarry and how big it was going to be and how much land it was going to take and all the effects of it, my heart went from my chest to the pit of my stomach. And at that point in time, I knew I had to be involved in it and show some leadership on that too. So we worked together, whether it be in the public or quietly behind the scenes. We worked together on that. I'd like to say Ted McMeekin, he stepped out and forward on this. He took leadership on it, as did all the MPPs that worked behind the scenes on it. But Ted and I had many, many conversations about this quarry. Some I could share with Graham, and some he told me to keep to myself, but just to give me confidence that at some point in time this quarry would be stopped. So, Ted, thank you for all of that. I would just like to say that, we can be calm, we can be restful about this, but don't turn your backs yet. We need to have the waters calm totally, and then it'll go away. At some point in time, either St. Mary's is going to sell that land or they're going to retain it. It'd be nice if they take that land and put it to a heritage park and preserve it for years and years to come for our children, your grandchildren. So once again, I'd just like to say thank you to Graham, the Committee of Force, the community for everything you've done and all your letter writing and signatures and sitting at meetings. And it's for you, the seniors, your families, your kids, all these fine young children out here, and the future be for their kids and their grandchildren. Once again, thank you for everything you've done. Graham, thank you.
Cindy, come on up.
Well, one of the advantages of being last is that everything has already been said, and one of the problems of being last is everything has already been said. Now, in my era, you'd say ditto. In this era, you probably say copy and paste. So all I'm going to say is copy and paste. It has been wonderful, and certainly this is the finest example of a community truly coming together and reminding everybody that really it is the individual that really does make a difference. Now, I'm also speaking on behalf of the Mayor of Milton and Councillor Mowbray, and we have a bit of a certificate here to present to Force. And with that, from the Mayor, we'd make you an honorary citizen if we could. But congratulations on the efforts here. And I'd I'd also like to present a Milton water bottle to Graham and Forrest, and I think to Mr. McMeekin. I challenge you to carry this in.
Do I have to carry it like that?
And of course, it will be filled with tap water, not any of this bottled junk. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure to join you in this celebration.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, it's fast enough. Now, you weren't quite last, though. We have two more people that we need to hear from, and then we will be finished. So, Kathy McMaster, I'd like, from the Hamilton Wentworth Federation of Agriculture, I'd like to ask you to come up and just say a little bit about the comments from the agricultural community, which is a vibrant part of what it is what we're trying to protect here. Kathy?
Thank you very much, Graham. As a matter of fact, my comments are going to be very short and sweet. I'm Kathy McMaster, and I farm at Rockton, and I'm really very pleased to be representing the Hamilton Wentworth Federation of Agriculture here today at your celebration. It was August of 2004 when Graham Flint attended our meeting at Merritt Hall in Ancaster and asked for the support of the Federation of Agriculture in the quest to keep a major quarry operation out of this area. When it comes to saving our precious land resources from sprawl or from reduction of food supply, never hesitate to ask a farmer. Our organization was pleased to be one of the first groups to get on board for your long, undeviating, and very expensive mission. I offer your group, Force, and this community congratulations for your astute organization, your unreal dedication, and your systematic process. Rarely has such an informed and knowledgeable committee taken on such a huge challenge. Graham, may your initial success be your final success. Thank you.
Thank you. And last, but certainly not least, our host for today, Iggy Caniff. Come on up and share a word and a thought to us.
Thank you. Thank you for being invited today. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Minister, Mr. Chairman, your worship there, councillors, and everybody else. I am really proud to be today here to see such a great unity. United we can move mountains. So when I see all of you people, you can't help it but remind me about 10, 12 years ago when one of the multinational corporations came to Mississauga and Steeles Avenue and tried to build a huge distribution center and services throughout Ontario, Western New York, and Manitoba. So that was a fantastic problem for me because I have 3 golf courses right next door. And as soon as this problem came here to Carlisle, I said, oh no, don't tell me again. So therefore I'm immediately felt that my heart belonged to you people because I belong here. So I wishing you all the success. I know you're going to win because I win over there. A little guy come from Bulgaria. And you people are united. You have forces here working for you day and night. The minister I know because knowing the gentleman for so many years, and I know he works his heart through. He puts his job on the line, but he had to win to you, for you, and for me, and for all of us. So thank you very much for inviting me, and wishing you all the best.